Hey fellow cyclists, so the topic of today's video is going to be about continuing to ride your bike through the winter, be it for fun or for fitness or if you're commuting, while also not dumping a ton of cash into your gear. So these are just some of the little tips and things that I've learned throughout the years that I've been commuting, so let's just get started. Bit of advice I could give is just decide you're going to do it, commit to it. Now is a good time to do it. You know, we're just getting into the fall here. You know, here in Colorado, this has kind of been the first week where it's been the weather hasn't been great. It's rained a couple days down into the 40s, lower 40s and things, and now's the time to get used to it, acclimate to it. You know, if you wait till it's dead of winter and you just decide you want to start commuting to work or riding a lot, it's always more difficult because it's so hard to get used to. But if you can ease into it in the fall, start getting dialed in how to dress, you know. Okay, so I've been riding and commuting by bike for probably 20 or 30 years now, and I'm just going to share with you a few tips, some of the things I've learned, some of the things the hard way or whatever, but anyway, there's kind of a general consensus, it seems like, of folks who, once it gets below 40, they kind of just quit riding. Lots of folks are doing the, you know, indoor, riding the trainer on Zwift, things like that. So, you know, that's all fine and good, but personally, I prefer to just ride outside. I don't know, for some strange reason, I enjoy it better. You know, it kind of starts somewhere around the 60-65 degree range is when you're going to actually have to modify your normal riding attire, which would typically just be a set of bib shorts and a jersey, maybe a light base layer. So once it gets about 65-ish, the one thing that I'm super adamant about is the old knee warmers. It's just, you know, the material there on the skin, I guess you could say, on your knees is super thin, and personally I have pretty bad knees, so it's, you know, definitely makes a difference. You know, I know guys like to see them riding all the time, 40-50 degrees, it's cold out, and they like to show the guns off. So, you know, I'm not trying to tell anybody what to do, but if you want to save your knees, knee warmers are a good idea. Most of them just as a basic Louis Garneau knee warmer that I got with a kit, and it's just a fleece lining, kind of a lycra outside. But you know, knee warmers are one of those things that you do tend to go through them a little quicker than other winter gear, but winter gear in general, as far as like the base layers and the jackets and things like that, typically last for several years. I've actually have some that's probably 10 or 15, maybe more years old. So anyway, the basic modifications you would make to your basic kit would be, you know, once it gets in that 60 to 65 degree range, or let's say it's maybe 55 and it's going to warm up to maybe the upper 60s or something like that. So typically what I'll do is wear my standard kit and then add knee warmers, maybe arm warmers, and a you know, just a basic, this is just a light base layer sock guy one. This is one I've had for basically forever, you know, and it's pretty ratty, it's got holes and stuff in it, but you know, this is one of those things that it's underneath your stuff, so it doesn't have to look super pretty or anything. But and then, you know, just a basic vest. The vest is probably one of the most versatile cycling accessories, clothing-wise, you can get. But you know, this particular one, it just came with a kit of mine, and you've got some wind blockage in the front. Normally, it's kind of a breathable material in the back, and then this particular one, it's got a little spot where you can still access your pockets in your normal jersey, so kind of nice. But you know, all of these things are small enough, you know, it warms up, you just strip them off and put them in your pockets there. And you know, basic glove when it's just a little cool. I've got these ones that are pretty light, just a full finger gloves, kind of got a mesh backing there, and that all this stuff will do me pretty well down to about maybe 60 degrees, maybe a little cooler to start, you know, but kind of as a general rule, the way I like to think about it, that's kind of worked for me, is starting out, you know, if you take about your 65 degree point, and then for maybe each 10-degree drop in temperature, you're going to want to add a layer. So really it's all about layering and the kind of the thickness of the layers, I guess you could say. So all of those things work pretty well for me. Once it starts to get a little cooler, if I know it's going to be consistently cool throughout the day, I'll add something like maybe a longer sleeve base layer. This one's still pretty thin, maybe a little thicker than the that white one I just had there. And then I've got some different, this is just a basic long sleeve jersey that's not, it's a pretty thin jersey, but this one's nice if it's in, you know, right, you know, like say right in that 50-degree range, this, you know, this and this, and you know, you can get down into the upper 40s with the vest and then strip it off, you know, if it's not going to get maybe above 60, that's a good combination there. I will typically, glove-wise, once it gets a little cooler, maybe another 10 degrees colder, I'll wear something like this. This is just a set of pearl Azumi gloves that are pretty decent, a little thicker, you know, but they're still fairly lightweight. Got some good wind blockage there, and they used to be a pretty high vis color, but now they're kind of this color, but I don't know, they're still functional. So down on the legs, when it does start to get down into the freezing temperatures and whatnot, I like to use, I've got these Castelli Tights, and I've had these things for probably 5 or 6 years. They probably need to be replaced, but I usually use them more as kind of a base layer kind of thing, and I'll put either my regular cycling shorts and some knee warmers on, or I've got a set of long leg warmers that sometimes I'll put, sometimes both if it's, you know, down below 15, 10, somewhere in there. And I've also got a set of craft rain pants that I'll periodically use if I just know I'm going to be in the wet weather for a pretty long time. Jersey wise, you know, there's the kind that have like a fleece lining. There's some that are even thicker than this that are almost like a coat, but you know, this is a, you know, good 50-degree jersey with a base layer, you know, as well, even, you know, a little cooler. And then head wise, you know, usually if it's pretty nice, or a lot of times I'll just always wear like a cycling cap. And if it's gets down to maybe, you know, right in that 50-degree range, I'll wear something like this, just kind of something to keep the old ears warm. So this little setup here works pretty well for me down to, you know, I don't know, 45 degrees or so. Seems to stay pretty warm. You know, if it's a little colder than that, I may take like a, you know, windstopper type hat, and then, you know, maybe even just something, you know, one of these, and then my helmet up on top of that. As far as the feet, you know, the main 3 areas you want to keep warm when it's winter, just, you know, when it starts to get really cold, it's your ears, your hands, and your feet. And I've got some decent, it's a Bontrager shoe cover. This one's probably works just by itself pretty decent down to about freezing. It's good for, you know, if it's kind of wet out, but you know, it offers good wind protection. It's pretty lightweight and flexible. It's got kind of a fleecy lining there, but I've been using, these are starting to get a little ratty, but I've had these for probably, I think this may be my 3rd or 4th season on them. But just if it's, you know, kind of between that 45, 50, somewhere in there, kind of just a little hack you can do that's free. I mean, this can even work for colder temperatures, but basically just take an old pair of socks and, you know, there at the toe, like, you know, you have some socks with holes in the, start to get in the heel, like cut a slit here up in the front for your cleat, and then you can just slip it over your shoe there. So it's not as bulky as like trying to double up on socks, you know, and try to squeeze your shoe around that. Something like this actually works pretty decent. And then even as a, you know, a trick you can do to kind of add to that if it's wet out. It's something, a buddy of mine, we used to do this all the time, just, you know, go to races and find it's raining or whatever, and you want to keep your feet warm or whatever, just take like a, you know, like a little, one of these little plastic grocery bag things, and, you know, just wrap that around your shoe, you know, put your shoe on, and then basically just open it up big enough for your cleat to fit through there, and then put the cover over on top of that. You can also do it, you know, if you don't want it all the way up, if you just want it something a little bit warmer, you can put aluminum foil just over the toe portion, you know, maybe around there, and then up to here. Put the cover on, you know, nobody knows it's under there, and it's lightweight, either version there. It works really well. Let's see. Once it starts getting below that, you know, you just want to add layers. I've got a, you know, base layer wise, I've got several different base layers. A lot of them are just cheapy. I think this is a starter. You know, probably paid 15 bucks or something for this one, but this one's a kind of a double. It's pretty thick compared to the other one. So this one's a dedicated, once it's, you know, right into that freezing point, I'll wear this under whatever. If it's a rainy day, I've got, you know, a couple different rain jackets. This is probably my favorite one. Had this thing for probably 10 years or so. It's a Bellwether, I guess is the brand there, but yeah, this thing, you know, is a nice jersey, and that base layer, I mean, I've ridden this thing in sub-freezing, snowing, raining, whatever. I've got this jacket here. This is a Cannondale jacket that's it's got kind of a wind block on all the sleeves, but you know, the back side of it is kind of a thinner, a little bit more of a breathable material. It's got reflective bits there and logo, but you know, something like this is kind of my go-to. You know, if it's sub-freezing and be on the bike for a while, this is works pretty well for that. So my gloves, you know, back to the glove selection there, I've got, you know, the basic. Next level will be this one. Once it gets maybe below 55, 50-ish, I'll go to this one. It's a Bontrager Glove. It's a little thicker. Got some nice wind blocker stuff there on the back. Insulate. That's what it says. I don't know which model this actually is, but this one seems like it works pretty good down to about, I don't know, 45, 40-ish or so. And then from there, if it gets down below 40, I'll go with, I've got this other Pearl Azumi. It's kind of the lobster claw style. And this one definitely is, works really well. If it's down, you know, down into the 20s or whatever, teens, 20s, I've used this one with another glove inside of there, like a knit glove or just whatever. Sometimes I'll, you know, I've used this glove. I've used this glove, combination of this glove, and that's, I haven't had any issues. One day there was, last year I rode, and it was probably 10 degrees, super windy, and I actually put some little, those little hand and feet warmers, and just put them on the back side of my hands there, and I don't know, that seemed to help too. I seemed to be okay with it there. So winter, it's always good to, you know, these Aero helmets, kind of nice because you can, you know, the vents are pretty small on these ones. So sometimes if it's, you know, really cold day, I'll take just electrical tape and go over the little vents there. Maybe, you know, leave some of the back ones open so, you know, still get some airflow through there, but, you know, block these ones off, and that definitely makes a pretty huge difference. As far as another quick little hack, you know, if it's down into the 40s, wool socks always work really well. You know, just commuting and things, I like to wear, you know, different I usually bring a few different glasses with me. You know, these shorter days in the winter, if you're commuting, you know, it might be sunny in the morning and dark when you're heading home. So usually I'll just have a little glasses case and wear, you know, my normal ones, you know, to work, and then something like this or just a clear. I just have a few different pairs of glasses there, and rather than switch the lenses, I'll just wear different glasses there. That seems to work pretty well. You know, and then another thing, just if you're out riding, it's always a good idea to bring a couple extra gloves with you. You know, like there's been times where, you know, you may start out the morning cooler, you know, it's kind of like that whole thing with the arm warmers, you know, say it's like 50, 55, you start off and, you know, maybe have something like this, but once it gets above, you know, 60-ish or so, these start to become a little too much, start getting sweaty and uncomfortable, so you slip these off and then put the lighter weight ones on. You know, that's a little trick I do quite a bit. 60 degrees and I see people wearing a full neoprene, you know, I don't know. I usually don't wear a balaclava. I've got this thing here. It used to be really popular. It's made by Maxit. And it's just basically a tube. It's kind of a wind stopper thing, so you know you can wear it over your head, and you know, kind of something like this. I like to be able to, I don't know, I have an issue being able to breathe with something covering up my whole face, so I kind of like this. If it's really cold, like the air is cold at first, you know, you can kind of pull it up, and you know, and usually I'll ride a little faster to get warmed up, but you know, something like this in conjunction with a, you know, lighter hat like this, you know, or something like this. This is kind of my go-to setup for, you know, kind of my go-to setup when it's down below 20 or 30, 20, 30, something like this works pretty well for me. I don't know, you can use the balaclava setup if that one floats your boat. You know, and I also have some pretty thick, I've had these things forever. It's just kind of a thick, super thick neoprene booty. It's got some Gorilla Tape on it because it's getting pretty ratty as well. But, you know, these work really well. Sometimes you can do the sock thing with one of those. That's my kind of whatever heavy duty method. Another thing, my wife got these for me for a Christmas gift, I think last year, and I've done them a time or two, but it's a waterproof sock, so super wet day, you know it's going to be wet, something like this would be a good option as well. But yeah, other than my bike setup, I've got fenders on it, and fenders are good up until if it's like sleeting, icing, snowing. Sometimes if it's really cold, you gotta kind of watch out, you know, if there's not going to be a lot of water splashing up. I would leave the fenders off because I've had issues with sometimes it can build up and then just basically lock your wheels up if there's too much ice and accumulation in between the fender and the tire, if you're, you know, getting into that type of stuff. But I always want to ride with a good tire when it's really cold, because you don't want to be getting flat tires and things and having to deal with changing those when it's super cold. You know, that's one thing with the actual riding in it, your body's generating the heat, so you know, that's the thing. Riding in the wintertime, it's if you want to nail it just right, you should be cold for 10 or 15 minutes, and then after that, it's, you know, riding in the cold is really, it's cool. Cold weather it's an awesome feeling. But yeah, other than that, good lights, good headlight, good tail light. You know, there's so many nice lights these days that are up into the 700, 800, 1300 lumens. Just rechargeable LED lights, and then the same thing with the little tail lights that are the LEDs. You know, some that are, like Bontrager makes some that are designed to be daytime running lights. You can toggle them back and forth between night and whatever, but it's being super visible. I've got some of this stuff. I bought this on Amazon or something for like $6 or $7, and I barely used it. It's like a 1-inch wide I don't know how much, probably a 20-yard roll of this electrical tape. Just stick it on your fenders or helmet or whatever, you know, just increase your visibility is always a good idea as well. So yeah, that's my basic tips. Hopefully you enjoyed the video, maybe found some of it helpful. Feel free to leave any comments, your own ideas, the way you get through the winter. And yeah, that's going to do it. And thanks for watching.